And welcome to Not So Real.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Hello. My name's Lee.
My name is Jack.
And today we are doing an episode of fun.
This is new.
Of reviewing.
You okay there?
No. Basically, today's pod is about a movie review.
No.
But it's not a movie.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. I've got this, right?
God.
I'm taking over it. And we're going to do episode 3 and 4 of The Last of Us.
I mean, that was catastrophic.
I know, but like, I wanted to take over for a change. I tried, all right, Jack. Okay, it's not my fault. I want to try these things. Okay.
Did any part of that make any like linear sense to you?
Yeah,
or did you
of
just
course it did.
say words?
We're
that
doing a
haven't mattered in
review
the
on the
right-
TV series The Last of Us.
Episode 3 and 4.
That's
Boom.
exactly what I said.
Smashed it.
What? That's exactly what I said.
Go on then. Off.
What do you
off,
mean? What do you mean?
Off you
we-
go.
Okay,
Go on, then.
so
You start.
Okay, so you want me to start on
Yeah,
episode?
go on.
Okay, I'm going to start on episode 3. We're diving right in because Jack's letting me take over this part of the pod. So what did you feel about the episode? Oh my god! Yeah, if you
Do
just...
you want me to?
Yeah, I think you should
okay,
take it
right.
back over. Sorry.
Welcome to
Sorry,
Not So Real, the podcast about
Hello.
TV and film, and today we are doing a TV review.
Oh yeah.
So you just see that?
Oh, yeah, that was quite good.
Simple,
I did like that.
yeah? Nice and simple.
Nice and simple.
None of this dancing about it. Simple. Straight to the point.
I'm dying. Oh my god. Okay.
That's it, what the fuss was about. Like, that was,
I'm sorry, I can't get together. Sorry.
we're already like 3 minutes in and you're already, you know.
Oh dear, I'm crying. Oh, fuck it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Go on, Jack, far away.
Right, episode 3 was new, wasn't it? It was different. It was completely...
Episode 3 was a banger, as they say in many countries.
We're going to have, like, this is going to be split, I feel like. We're going to have 3 with one kind of vibe and 4 with a whole different kind of vibe. We're not going to touch 4 yet.
Yeah, we're going to talk about 3.
I've got different opinions on 4, but
yeah.
3... So if you have played the game, and if you haven't, let me explain what really goes on. So in the game, you meet these people called Bill and Frank, right? But it's a very sporadic meeting. You meet these people, nothing really happens. You get some supplies. One of them is dead.
The game is quite dark on that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I think it's a nice difference in the series, obviously, like where they've explored that a lot more. But it's quite dark. Like, it's still dark in the series. But I mean, like, it's like the fact that you just see him.
You
there,
just see him hung.
Like, basically, in the game, he's like what is it? Is it Bill or
Frank.
Frank?
Frank has committed suicide.
So Frank's committed suicide, and he's just hanging there.
And Bill just leaves him up there.
Bill's just like, yeah.
So you don't really get to see their relationship at all. You you breeze past it, you crack on with the game, and you don't really think twice about who these people were. The series, and I think this is why it's 9 episodes long, right? They've taken a whole episode where the writers have decided that Bill and Frank deserve their story to be told.
Yeah.
And it's not a story that was actually written before. So in the game, they were just side characters. You had them for a bit. We had Bill for a bit. Frank's not even there.
Yeah, you have this little moment there, and then you sort of pass on. But
then
I think
Joel and Ellie just carry on with their journey.
But I think what they did with this episode, I think, really paid off. I think maybe they sat down and was like, oh, maybe this is a bit risky because it isn't as, you know, it is obviously characters from the game, but this is so much more development than obviously before.
And there's a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah, and it's always with game and TV adaptations and stuff, there's always that big risk factor of you do something different, is the risk right? And I really think it paid off.
I think it was amazing.
I think it really did.
I'm going to say now, probably my favourite part of the series so far. And it was just exceptional, and I cried at the end.
Yeah.
I was feeling
so
very
sad,
emotional.
Isn't it?
I'm just going to like really quickly summarise the whole thing before we can just dive into the characters and what happens. So you are left with this town called Lincoln, which is on the route to Boston, which is where Joel and Ellie are going. And it's in incremental like timestamps, so that it jumps a few years. You meet Bill. Bill is quite a cynic, and when Fedra come to collect all the people from the town to say, like, right, you need to, leave, there's something going on, let's go to the quarantine zone where they actually murder you, we need to escape and we need to keep you safe. Bill stays, and he actually builds a fortress around his town, and he stays there by himself for quite a few years. He is very good with like his arms dealership. He's very good with his firearms. Very good with like his tactics. And he makes an electric gate, an electric fence. Yeah. He raids the supermarkets. He does what you should do in The Walking Dead to survive. Right? I think we put that out there.
Yeah,
he made that look quite simple.
He really did. Like he's very much like got on with it to the point, done it, and it
works.
Good. It looked good.
Not only does it look good, it also works.
Yeah.
And you can almost look at it and go, The Walking Dead, Rick was a bit shit. But, fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And then he meets someone who falls into one of his traps called Frank. You think he's going to shoot him. And they actually start living together, and then you follow the relationship all the way up.
Builds more together as time goes.
And all the way up until they actually end their relationship together. I'm not going to ruin the whole thing for you if you've not seen it. If you have not seen this episode...
My God, yeah, you need to go
You
watch
need
it.
to turn this off. I think it's the only time we'll tell you to turn this off because you have to go and watch it. And from this point onwards, spoilers.
Yeah, I
put
agree.
it out there.
If you're going to listen to the rest of this, we're going to talk about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
It's a love story, which I think you don't expect in a series like this. It is...
Not really, considering that the characters, again, in the game, are like... It's nothing like that. You wouldn't even expect that. They were like arguing or whatever it was, and they were in a bad relationship, and then that's why sort of hung himself.
Yeah, in the game.
Yeah, but then this completely different. But I think it's so paid off. The fact that you see them building that relationship over the time and over the timestamps too. Like it just.
I knew something was going to happen.
Oh yeah, of course.
Which was it was so easy to spot. So
of course,
when Frank fell into the trap, right?
Oh, yeah.
I immediately thought, right, he's going to Walking Dead him. Walk over to the trap, and he goes, "I'm not here to do anything. I'm fine." And he just goes, poof, in the head, done. He goes and gets a ladder. He gets out, takes him to his home because he's en route to Boston, right? Frank is. Makes him a meal. They go to the piano and they start to play. When that piano part comes out, I was sitting there like, right, them two. Getting together 100%. And
the thing is that I think the writers and even the directors and stuff, and the way they've done it so smartly. Like for example, when he there's so much humanity to it. Like even in the 4th episode, which we'll get to later, like he was obviously going about to shoot him or do whatever. When in the trap and stuff, and he said his name was Frank. Like that sort of stuff, is a humanity thing to make someone not sort of shoot you. It's like. If that makes any sense to you, it brings some humanity to it. Like if that was you in that situation, you would say your name. Look, hi, I'm Lee. I'm just here to.
You've probably not heard somebody say their name for quite a long time.
Because Bill's on his own, and obviously he's seen Frank, and he's a bit like, okay, fine, come in. Add a little bit of a joke with the Arby's thing as well.
Yeah,
I thought that was really funny. It just brings a bit of humanity to their situation of probably where it's not really seen now because they're in sort of a fucking shitty apocalypse.
And it was almost like Bill had been longing for a human connection.
Yeah.
Because it felt like... So he instantly said, in their first actual proper conversation, he was like, right, who's the girl? And he was like, there isn't a girl. And that felt like, when your kid's in the playground and you ask, right, who's your crush? And they go, yep, no one's my crush.
Yeah.
And then you've got that kind of awkward moment where they are your crush.
Yeah.
And it felt like he was standing there just waiting for somebody to love him. Like he'd been alone for so long. He was like, I don't need anyone. I'm hiding in my basement. Everyone has left.
The thing is, Frank's come along, and it's sort of that you see that progressively go forward more. The more time they're together, and they sort of build this loving relationship. It's great.
It was so loving. But I thought what was best was their personalities because they were direct opposites, right? So Bill, he's a cynic. A survivor, he's paranoid, he's aggressive, he's distrustful, but he's also practical, right?
Yeah.
Even when
you can see the practicalness in him, especially building the traps and stuff, building the fences,
even in his clothing, he's got his gun on him, he's very much built to be the man's man, right?
Yeah.
So he does everything, getting your hands dirty, not really into fitness. He does what is needed to survive.
Yeah.
Frank, however, is he's the lover. He's the damsel in distress. Notice when the people came in the night to shoot, obviously try and force their way in.
Yeah.
And to try.
But the Bill didn't want to wake up Frank when he was trying to shoot him and everything. He wasn't going to do that because he feels like that responsibility of obviously the caring for Frank. He wasn't going to do that, and then
He was going to go and
it's
deal
just
with the
way-
situation.
Yeah.
And also Frank, all in that sense, the character he's quite helpless in terms of like violence, but he's the sensitive one. So
Yeah.
he's more worried about how the town looks compared to how we're keeping everybody out.
Wasn't that what their argument was about?
Yeah.
I was trying to, because they literally were
One of
storming
the
out and they had
first
that argument.
arguments.
Yeah.
He walked out and he was like, why don't you just let me get some paint and make it look nice? And he was like, but we'll need the paint for something else. And he's like, but I want the house to be pink. Like, he's so worried about what it looks like and the aesthetics. And Bill's like, but I will need that for something practical.
Yeah.
Like, doing up that house doesn't make sense. There are zombies there. Don't need that to be pink. I need that paint to like stop corrosion on my vehicle or something like that. But Frank is the passionate one. He's also the friendly one. He likes the aesthetics of things. But both of them, and this is why I loved it, they love control.
Yeah.
It was like watching your mum and your dad fight over what colour to paint the hallway.
Yeah.
They're both like, well, it's our house. So it's
What they've done
dreadful.
so well is relating it to real life and relating it to normal people like us. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, they're stuck in a situation that isn't happening, obviously, like in real life. Like, you know, there's not mushrooms trying to take over my family or me on my face. You know, that's not real. But what they've done so well is that they've took this situation and even the whole series, as they're going along, they're making it feel like it could be real, and these people that are in this situation are just like me and you, and it makes us relate with them so much more. Like, for example, like a relationship. Everyone's been in a relationship, or even if people are in one now, like, and you're always going to have squabbles about stupid shit like paint, and stuff like that, and everything else. And you're always going to have like maybe one of the partners being a bit more headstrong than the other. Like, it's so relatable to us. It's why I think when Frank got ill.
Yeah.
In a sort of sense, like, illness is also something that relates to a lot of people as well. Like, it's everywhere. That's what I think for me hit me quite hard, because I think it's so relatable to a lot of people out there watching it, and it makes it so like, and that, like you said, like about being upset and like crying at the end, like it was such a, I can't say much any more than saying it was a fantastic episode.
It was one of those where I could see myself and my partner inside those two people, where even when they were like greeting Tess, Joel and Ellie for the first time, because when those three first come into it, Tess is still alive. It's on their journey around America to get to their destination, where you've always got the one that's more welcoming and like able to have people come into their lives, and the one that's a little bit distrusting. And I was sitting there like, oh my god, this is so us. Like, she's worried about paint and she wants to make friends, and I'm very much like, well, that isn't practical. Let me keep myself to myself, and like, just don't bother what's already working. If it's already working, don't try and change it. And I was sitting there like, this is so mad that I can relate to the situation that you're in, it being the worst kind of pandemic we could ever think of. And I'm sitting here at home in my onesie and my slippers like, oh my god, this is just me, innit? This is just us. This is what we look like. It's what we sound like. And it was just so comforting and like warming to see that they've thought that even in a situation as dire as that, the small things in life are the only things you ever really argue about. Which was brilliant. And you're like, even if the world ends, we're going to be the same.
Completely.
And even to the point with the death and the dying, I believe that Frank, they didn't actually specify what it was, but it's some kind of degenerate disease. These things start to happen to even when you're younger sometimes, but in Frank's case, when he was older, this thing developed, and without any doctors you can't really prevent it. And he is just at the end of it, he's waiting to die, isn't he? And he does this whole thing where he wakes up and you know he can't get out of bed without Bill, but somehow he's climbed onto his wheelchair, sat there for hours and gone, this is it, this is the day that I die, because I'm absolutely done with the world. And to hear that sentence, even then my heart dropped, because I would feel the same. Even if I was Bill, I'd be like, what's the point in this? I think I've said this in previous episodes about The Walking Dead. I would be at that point as a fully functioning human being and still how hard is that to hear?
Yeah.
And that part really got me. I don't know about you, but I was...
I just, like I said to you before, I just think the writers absolutely nailed it. I think they've got the right actors as well.
Oh my God.
Playing the parts.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think the writing of this, like, it's shot so nicely as well. Like, this series is coming, like, it's one of my favourite series for a reason. The reason why I think we both wanted to talk about this, because we watched the first episode and we was like, this is amazing. Like, and episodes like this I love to talk about and review, and I can't say enough how good this episode was. Like, the writers absolutely smashed out the park. I think the camera work's always incredible. The actors also just delivered their lines perfectly. Like, and for a fact of making people feel emotions like that's how powerful that performance was. And that doesn't just also come from just actors, that's also the whole team of doing that. And I think, to me, it's going to be hard for them to top it later on. I think obviously they've got more story with Joel and Ellie and stuff like later on, but obviously with this episode where people were saying it's a filler, but if this is a filler, it's probably one of the best fillers I've ever seen.
So, got three things. One's going to surprise you.
Okay.
I thought the relationship between Frank and Bill was very much like Joel and Ellie.
Okay.
Which is a little bit weird to say, considering the first two are lovers, the second two, not.
Maybe not so much, yeah.
Right?
I think that would be a little bit wrong.
When you think about it, when you look at the character debrief that I did about 10 minutes ago,
yeah,
you've got Bill, the practical one, the distrusting one, keeping himself to himself, and really just not wanting to do anything but what's on his mind, right? He's very selfish. And Frank, the lover, the chatter, the aesthetics, like, you can see the similarities in the relationship, which was a little bit weird in my head to comprehend.
Yeah,
do you see what I mean?
The thing is, I didn't see it so much like that, but at the same time, I do get what you're saying. I do understand, like, sort of, because I think that Bill is very similar to Joel in that sort of sense. Like,
yeah,
even when they were like talking to each other, when they were sitting down and stuff, like you can, their sort of head spaces are in the same thing.
They're very much like militant men.
Yeah,
they
they sort of want things done, do whatever. Like, they know what's right and they just get on with it. You know, they're very similar in that sort of sense. So I can see what you're saying.
And there was this whole thing about the song. Song was a huge part in that part, which was, and apparently, so Neil Drunkman, who's one of the creators, and Mazin, they had a conversation. They said that they're not sure what the song is. Can't be a song that everyone knows. Has to be a song that is like yearning for love, and show that it's about commitment. And that was the episode title. Was it like long time?
Yeah,
love you for a long time. And it was all about this idea of, like, even in the worst situation, you commit to this relationship, and I thought that was amazing.
Such a foreshadow as well for later on. Like, it's just.
But they played the song in the car at the end.
Yeah.
And it kind of then said to me that what's coming is maybe Joel and Ellie are going to start getting along.
It's definitely a foreshadow for, like, obviously not the same sort of relationship.
Yeah, not the same sort of love.
But I mean, like, they're still going to have that sort of bond, which we all know is going to happen anyway. Like, there's always going to be that sort of, like, Joel looking after Ellie, like, later on, because we've played the games. But I think that's a nice little symbol to, like, put in there, pushing forward further in the series.
It's like it shows that there's going to be something.
Yeah, for sure.
And they don't really make eye contact in that part. But when you just kind of feel maybe this wasn't a filler as such, but it showed that there was love, or you are capable of love in that situation.
I can understand why a lot of people were like, oh, this was a filler, because it wasn't really about Joel or Ellie, really.
No.
Like, it didn't have anything to do with their progression of moving forward and stuff, which happens in episode 4. But, like, this episode was just lovely to watch.
Did you know it's the lowest rated one?
Which is mental to think, but then I think that's because I think a lot of people watching it expecting zombie action.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So then when they've come up with, like, something like this is more, I appreciate movie art, Like, this is nice. This is nice writing. This is a nice story. It's a nice emotion. Like it's lovely to watch. It's a good watch. But for a zombie series like that, where it's supposed to be expected action and expected this and expected
Is it
that.
though?
Like, but this is where I think it's good because it's different because of that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are expecting this normal sort of Walking Dead situation, which like a lot of people will compare it to, but now they've done something different. I still think it's great TV, absolutely like peak TV, but everyone expects loads of action all the time.
I think that episode will win awards. I think it will.
I don't see why it couldn't.
I hope it does. Right, on to episode 4.
Yes.
So, completely different cut, this one. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's back to zombie fighting.
Oh yeah.
It's back to the normal stuff.
Oh yeah. Go on,
But
Joel.
It doesn't really like... To me, it's the worst episode they've done.
I think if... It's annoying because this made me very much want to watch 5. 4 is a 2-parter. I think you've got one part where it's like leading up with another, like militia and that whole situation where they're trying to find that boy. I can't remember his name.
This feels like
it's like
what should have been the first episode. Do you know what I mean? Where most seasons have that first episode where they're trying to explain everything, but they can't really do it and give you what you want at the same time. So when this one was on, I instantly thought, right, they've got a lot of characters to introduce, a lot of groups to introduce, and you meet this lady and she's looking for her brother's killer around the city.
Yeah.
And her name is Kathleen, I believe, and you're not too sure if she's good or bad or not, because she's searching for her brother's killer using all the force necessary, and I feel like in an apocalyptic time there's not really much else you can go on.
No.
Like, there isn't a law system, there isn't anything.
But then-
But in setting this up, there was no time for Joel and Ellie to really accomplish anything.
But then this is what I think. I think the way they've done this episode is, I think, again, there's a lot of stuff like this in the games. So, like, they go into places and they've got, like, people shooting at them and doing all that. So it's kind of like a reference to that, I think, like putting a bit more action in there. So we're, like, with the clickers and, like, all the sort of, like, other, like, Last of Us zombies aren't just the problem. It's the people as well, and I think they've got to put that out there. I think this episode is very much branching up to building more of Joel's and Ellie's relationship. Like, for example, with the gun.
Yes,
So,
and
like-
I was going to say this because Joel at the first part of the episode is still referring to Ellie as cargo, and you can see Ellie really trying her hardest to, like, make him change his mind with, like, the persistent jokes. And
I think she very much looks up to Joel as well.
I think she
as
does.
well, like, because Joel is very much, again, to that person to be to the point and just shoot somebody, do this, do that, like.
But also with him being the only person in her world, I think she's more just determined to make him like her.
Yeah.
I think she's like, you're all that I've got and you hate me, so how do I make you like me? Because if we're stuck together for this whole journey, you absolutely need to get on with me. And I think
But that's just trauma from, obviously, his previous situation with his daughter.
Of course it is.
But-
Of course it is.
But I think it's very nice at the end, that the fact of or near to the end of saying, it's like teaching her about how to
hold the gun.
actually hold the gun and do whatever. Like, especially as well, he probably respects her a lot more after saving his life. After, obviously, he was getting choked out, weren't he? And then Ellie shot Brian. I think that was his name,
Yes.
or whatever his name was, and shot Brian. And also another thing, again, they also know, like when she was about to shoot him again, he was like, no, my name's Brian. What I was saying to you earlier, the humanity thing, like the writers are so good at trying to put that into other people's heads about situations if you were in that, like, and he was like pleading and being like, oh, please don't, or whatever, and then Joel ends up just killing him.
It's such simple writing, but it's so effective in that sense.
Yeah, like it's the little things I noticed like that, and I think they've done quite well on doing that, because, like, everyone is human.
Like, what would you do in that situation? Like, it's hard to actually know. And with the gun, it was almost like with her going on about it since episode 1, to finally get a gun and be handed one from Joel.
Yeah, especially like after, back just before 4 starts, obviously they're like in different clothes, and Ellie's wearing her sort of game costume sort of sense, like the red t-shirt sort of thing. She gets a gun, like sort of it's progressing more and more, and I think the fans are sort of liking it. I am. But with this story, obviously they've went a little bit different than the game, and having like Fedra, and then having obviously I think it's the brothers that they're after. I think it's both of them because like I think that's what in the games as well. Them brothers are in the game too. So obviously that's how they're going to introduce them with Joel and Ellie, and obviously go through there. But this sort of, you know, is it Kathleen? Did you say
Kathleen?
So like I couldn't remember her name, so I'm glad you said it. But she literally is like ordering and like kicking down doors and stuff to try and find like people, and she's using her like overusing her power by doing that. Like it's like, for example, how do I say it? It's like saying, oh, this happened, so I'm going to do this to justify it, but it's not justifiable.
It's almost like kid action at this point because
Yeah.
it's apocalyptic. It's almost a he said, she said.
Yeah.
So because this person did that, I'm going to do this. Not really knowing what's really happened and what the situation is with her brother. She thinks that...
I do think she's a little bit evil. Like, what, you know,
I think she might be. Didn't she shoot the doctor in the
yeah, but
face?
that's what I'm saying to you, because like, she came out and was like, oh, does he need a doctor? And then he was like, no, and then just goes back in and just shoots
the
him.
doctor.
Yeah, like, do you know what I mean?
And
like,
she
that's
knows
not...
him because like he is her doctor and he looks like he's been there for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And he's been working with Fedra. Maybe when Fedra were good... This is what I keep thinking about.
Yeah.
Maybe when Fedra were good, the doctor was, you know, nursing people back to health, looking at the infected, saying like who's going to live, who's going to die, and looking at wounds and being like, right, that one I can treat, but this one is actually part of the infection, and they can't be allowed to stay here.
Yeah.
Put them in the city or put them outside of Kansas because that's where they are. But then to go back and just to shoot him. And we don't even get to see his face.
No.
So it's literally just almost like a blind killing for us because she just holds the gun up.
Bang.
And gone.
But then, I think
she's evil.
I think you're going to see now. I think in the next episode, where this episode was good. I don't think it was bad. Like even like the scene with I can't remember their names, but they're not fully formed clickers. But like, do you remember with Ellie's knife, where that thing was it like the one in the ground with the eye, and it was like following the up with the
blade,
the blade or whatever. Like stuff like that. They're going to incorporate, and it's so good as well. Like, but I think. That's all just a teaser, I think, for the next episodes. Like even the bit I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the ground that was really shaking?
What is that?
It was shaking. I think what they're going to do with that. So in the game, do you remember I think they're called bloaters. So they're fully like, you know, like clickers where it's just their head. These bloaters are like fully formed like mushroom people.
Is that what you think that is?
So that they're like massive or whatever. But I think, like, I might be wrong, but I think they're teasing for the next episode that ground's going to break. Because obviously, you know, do you remember in the second episode where all the fungi is all connected to like the ground and the air and like all connected to nature?
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, under the ground, there's all roots and everything
there's
else.
Dead people.
So there's also dead people. But I think there might be people that might have been, I don't know, under there or trapped under there or doing whatever, and then that might just sink in, and there might be loads that come out, and then they also attack all the other people, like all the raiders and or whatever group. They might attack them all. That ground is shaking for a reason.
Because in the game they were all locked up in train stations too, and they're in Kansas City. So if they've got stations underground, they could be trying to come through the ground, because obviously the other clickers are signalling them, saying, right, everyone's here.
Yeah.
There was a lovely moment though, right at the end, and I think this will be potentially my last point, where Joel laughs. Joel laughs, everyone. Joel has emotion. Finally, the geezer actually does something else that isn't complaining or shooting.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, because the actual fight scene in that episode was really real and really quick. It wasn't like a war hero fight scene. It was literally just what you would be like in real life. If you crash your car and you're getting shot at, there isn't going to be a massive fight scene in the street. You're going to shoot them dead. Yeah. Like in the game. Yeah. It is literally just one shot, done, bang, and it's over. And in the TV series, they don't really overcomplicate it. They're just like, right, you crash your car here, you shoot him. One shot in the chest, arm, leg, you're pretty much done for. But after all the seriousness, the hiding, and the discovering who Fedra are, and the agents, and seeing the people knock down their doors, Ellie pulls out a joke, and he laughs for the first time, which is nice. I feel like that's him relaxing.
But that's the thing, like, even with the jokes before, like, I think wasn't it something like Ellie said like a joke, and then Joel would like say the same joke back, and I think they're doing little jokes to each other like that, but now it's sort of like seeping in a little bit.
Yeah,
so
it's like he's relaxing, and he's finally gone, I'm stuck with her, I might as well get on with her.
Yeah.
Which I really found quite at the end of an episode that I didn't really like or want to watch again, because that would be the one that I skip, right? That will be the one that I don't watch again.
I think it is just leading for number 5. I think it's like, you know, where you get series where you watch it and you go, I had to watch 2 of them together.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a part 1, part 2. This was very much, I feel like, a part 1, part 2. Like, you come from 3, and that was like that own episode. Like, you come from like 1 going into 2. Obviously, that was a continuation, but you could stop at 1 and then watch 2 later on. You know, like it still was a continuation. Obviously, it's a series, but like it's not the fact of like you've like left it on some sort of massive cliffhanger like at the end of this one.
Yeah, this one is now open-ended, I feel like, because they wake up and the guys are in front, their little kids have got guns to their faces.
But with him in front of him, you can see he knows that he's holding the gun properly. So like, and from before when he was trying to teach Ellie, he's obviously shot someone before, so that's a little bit like, oh, what's going to happen? Obviously, if you play the games, like it's not.
It's the first cliffhanger of the series.
Yeah,
an actual true one, because 1 and 2 and 3 are all self-contained, and you just pick up the story from a random point.
Exactly.
But this one, we have to start it from.
That's what I
where
mean,
we left
and that's
off.
where I feel like that's why it's not had as much effect. Hasn't had as much as an effect as 1, 2, and 3 because it needs that 5th one. And I think once we watch that 5th one, I think we'll be fine. I think it'll be all right. So, but here we are.
We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Thank you so much for listening to Not So Real, the TV review of episodes 3 and 4 of The Last of Us. And in the next one, we'll be doing 6 and 7, and then 8 and 9, finally. And we'll see you next week when we're talking all about
Dumbledore being evil.
Why Dumbledore is really the villain in Harry Potter.
Dumbledore is the real villain.
We'll see you next week.
Bye. Roll the credits.